In this episode, we will be talking about the Fort Wilderness Resort at Walt Disney World. So, stick around. Hello, friends, and welcome to my side of the laundry room. My name's Rob, and we are kicking off Walt Disney World Week here at the channel. And what better way to kick things off than to talk about the resort that we stayed at while we were at Walt Disney World. And like I mentioned, we stayed at the Fort Wilderness Resort. And without giving anything away, it was pretty darn good. So let me begin by talking about our journey to Walt Disney World. This year we decided to drive, and it was the first time we drove to Walt Disney World. Usually we take the plane and take advantage of the Magical Express, but with Magical Express disappearing in January 1st to be more exact, we thought, let's drive it, see how it goes, and have a brand new adventure. And it was an adventure. And before I go any further, I just want to give a heartfelt, super big props to my wife who, she shouldered the responsibility and powered through and drove the entire 16 hours of our trip from PA to Orlando. And I don't think I could have done that. And I am super impressed and just super props, like I said to her, for doing it. And it was a great journey. I mean, a lot of time because we left in the middle of the night so the kids could sleep. So it was a lot of time of me and her just chit-chatting and enjoying the drive. So that aspect of it was awesome. But it was very strenuous on her, and believe me, on me too, being cooped up in a car for that long. And like I said, the kids slept, so they kind of enjoyed it because they got to rest. Before I go any further, let me point out that Fort Wilderness has ample places for RVs to stay there, has camping areas set up, and cabins. We stayed at the cabins, so I'm not going to comment at all on the RVs or the tents of the camping experience of it. So this is solely just the cabins. And with that being said, and I'll explain a little bit more later, the cabins have a full kitchen, and we planned on taking advantage of that. So our first stop when we got to Orlando was the local Walmart, because we wanted to get groceries, and we also just wanted to stretch our legs and look around. And you know me, I had to look at the toy section, and I ended up getting something, but that's discussion for later. Anyway, one of the things I need to point out about Walmarts in Orlando that I found out about, they have a large Disney section with t-shirts, pins, autographed books, which unfortunately weren't in use this time, and other neat souvenirs from Disney World. So we hit that up, and I got some pins super cheap, and we'll take a look at them in a future episode. And it was just neat. Some of the shirts we didn't get because they just kind of had a genericness to them, but you kind of expect that, but they were still really neat. Anyway, with groceries in hand and a full vehicle of suitcases and just general tiredness from being on the road, we were ready to go to the resort. And I have to say, it was a pretty easy trip from the Walmart to the resort. And it was like the perfect omen, because when we arrived at the security stand to get into the resort, to explain who you are and why you're there and all that good stuff, we saw deer walking through the trees, and they stopped and were nibbling at the grass, and it just, wow, just like I said, a great omen, because Fort Wilderness is an expansive wooded wilderness area. And they had just so many awesome little bits of wildlife and birds and just critters running around. And we'll talk about those as the episode goes on, but like I said, it was just a nice omen, and to see Disney deer like Bambi just right there, it was like they trained them to meet the cars to say, welcome. Anyway, we get through, we get to our cabin. We want to unload the groceries. I mean, we planned on eating breakfast at the cabin every morning before we set out for the parks. It just kind of saved a few dollars, and why not take advantage of the amenities of having the cabin and that cool kitchen? So we get there. First thing we do is go into the cabin. And let me say, the cabins are very nice. They're very spacious, and our experience of Disney World last time we went, we stayed at Port Orleans, which is still one of my favorite resorts of all time. But the rooms are, they're just really awesomely decorated hotel rooms for the most part. So they're small and cramped, and when you're done messing around at the parks and want to go back and just go to sleep, that's cool and all, but they are a bit cramped and stuffy when you're not at the parks. So and with the amount of crap we bring along with us, it just filled up quick, and with the stuff we bought there, it filled up really super quick. So it was nice to have this cabin and space, and I mean, like I've mentioned, there's a kitchen. So as soon as you walk in, there's the kitchen. And mind you, I'm going to put in some stock photos here, because I am horrible at cataloging life. I mean, I love this kind of stuff, but when it comes to grabbing a camera or filming things in life, I'm horrible at it. I'm in the moment and don't even think about pulling out a camera or a cell phone or anything like that. So we will put some Disney approved stock photos here. Anyway, as soon as you walk in is the kitchen, and to your right is the living room. And they have a nice sized couch that is also a pull out, so if you need extra places to sleep, here's a bed. Also has a chair, a coffee table, a little eating area with a table, chairs, and like a bench seating, booth seating, or whatever you want to call it. That was very nice. So it was nice every morning to make breakfast and sit at the table and just enjoy those moments before we hit the hustle and bustle of the park. So they have a full-size TV that, from what I understand, has been a recent addition, and it looked really nice. I mean, we watched Disney Junior on it. The kids loved it. We had a good time. So moving away from that, you go down the hallway, you have a good-sized bathroom, and nothing really special about it, but it had a nice-sized sink and vanity area to house all the toiletries you bring with you, and had some shelves so we could put our deodorant and things on it, and worked out very nicely. Then at the end of the hallway is the master bedroom, if you will. It has a queen-size bed and bunk beds. So the kids loved the bunk beds. We loved the queen-size bed. It just was the best place to unwind after a long day. And there's a TV there, so we would chill, watch some Disney Junior before we passed out for the day. And it made the kids super comfortable to be in the same room with us. So they had no problems falling asleep every night because we were right there with them. So we could chit-chat until they dozed off, and just was super nice family time. And yeah, just really enjoyed that. So after checking out the place, we emptied out the rest of the car with the suitcases and stuff, and like I said, we put the groceries away and all that good stuff. And one of the things about this area that we read about beforehand, and I skipped over one little bit, let me add, that every cabin has a good sized deck-like porch with a picnic table on it. So, everywhere has a deck with steps and a railing, and there's electric outlets outside. And like I said, we read beforehand that people love to decorate their cabins for the holidays. And since we were there for Halloween, we brought some Halloween inflatables to put out. So that was the first thing I did. I was like, I'm getting this place ready to look great for Halloween. Hooked up the inflatables, Wish we would have brought a little bit more, but I'm glad we didn't at the same time, because that would have just been extra hassle in the cleanup process to go home. But it was fun to come home every night after the parks and stuff and see those inflatables lit up and welcoming us back to the cabin. So, also I need to add that the RVs and other cabins, people really went all out with decorating them with lights and inflatables, and I saw some really neat like Halloween neon signs in the windows, and I mean people went all out and it was awesome. I mean it was just like a little, as you're walking or taking the bus or what have you, just really neat things to look at. And let me talk about, well, I'll get to the buses in a minute, but first things first, how our day unfolded. That usually the first thing we do once we get to the resort is hit the pool because we wait for the room, but our room became available while we were at Walmart, so we had planned on then just chilling out at the cabin until our dinner reservations at Trail's End, which is the restaurant. Well, there's two restaurants, but one of them was closed, which is the Hoop-de-Doo Review, which is super famous, super popular. We would have loved to eat there, but it was still closed due to the pandemic. So we went to Trail's End for dinner. So I'm getting ahead of myself just a tad, because before we went to dinner, we walked to the Meadow trading post, which also has a large pool, which I'll talk about, and some other amenities. But the main reason we were there was to hit the trading post, because we found out that if you kind of wait until the last day to get those things at the resort, different souvenirs that are resort specific, if you wait, sometimes you miss out. So we decided first day we're going to get what we want here and not have to worry about it. So we went in, I got some pins, some 50th anniversary pins, some resort specific pins. My wife got some resort specific t-shirts and stuff. Trying to think what else. The one thing that I was super excited to get, and I had to get it then and there, was this awesome totem pole. If you see it, it's got Humphrey, Donald, Goofy, and Mickey. Now, I had seen this thing, I don't know how many years ago, 15 plus years ago. I had a buddy that went to the Wilderness Lodge and got this. And if you've ever been to the Wilderness Lodge, this actual totem pole is there. Here's a picture of it. So, the thing is, the Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness kind of have a, friendship, if you will. So, they had this there, and I just had to get it because ever since one of my buddies got it, I just always wanted it. So, I was super psyched to get this, and getting it the first day, it just kind of filled me with an anxiety because I didn't want anything to happen to it while on the trip. So I left it all bundled up and padded as much as I can and just kind of hid it to the side until the day we left. But like I said, we tried to get those resort specific things. There were some things that were Walt Disney World specific, and I didn't pick them up, and I wish I would have, because I had a hard time finding them in the right size everywhere else we went. And when I would see it places, I'd go, oh, I'll just get it at the Wilderness Trading Post later, and by the time I finally pulled the trigger on them, they were sold out, or they just didn't have my size. So, yeah, faux pas on me. Anyway, from there, we went to the Trail's End. And mind you, we took a bus then to Trail's End. And there is an inter-resort bus system. It's a little spotty, and it took us time to learn its little hiccups and quirks. But once we did, it was really cool to get around the resort that way, because things are very spaced out. It is a very huge place. And mind you, right like 5 minutes walk from our cabin was a very bare bones pool, we wanted to go to the Meadow Pool because it's bigger, it has a splash pad for the kids, a water slide, a quick service restaurant, the trading post like I said. It has a bike barn where you can rent bikes or fishing gear or sports gear to play at their like shuffleboard and whatever else they had, but really neat. So every time we went to have a pool day, we went to the Meadow. Like I said, we were 5 minutes away from another pool, but we never really messed with it because it didn't have all the awesome extras that the Meadow Pool did. So, yeah, while I'm on that, let me just say the pool was awesome. We enjoyed many pool days here, and some days we would just hit the pool for a little bit and then we would go about our business. So really great. The kids loved it. I love the water slide because it is equipped for adults to use it too. So very cool, very awesome, just a good time. They have coordinators there to have games for the kids and play music, and it was a really nice atmosphere. So anyway, back to Trails End. You know, I will say maybe it was because of our long journey or what have you, but we decided that night for dinner we were all going to go as the child, Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever you want to call him. That was our theme. We wore shirts. My wife and the kids had these little, like, Baby Yoda, not ears, they were just like a little stuffed animal of him, like ears, and I wore Baby Yoda ears. Now, mind you, like I said, it might have just been our long journey, but I noticed, and my wife noticed, that people kind of didn't get it. They were kind of snickering, and everyone, even the waitress at Trails End was questioning why were we even wearing this stuff. And I'm the first person to say, while I'm at Disney, I do Disney. I wear ears. I act ridiculous. I act like a kid because it's fun and pure, and just you can act that way and enjoy yourself. So it was kind of odd to have people that actually worked there questioning our reasons for doing that. So that kind of bummed us out and was not the best way to end the day. And the meal at Trails End was okay, but the wait staff at that evening was abysmal. So not a good way to start the day, or the first day of the trip like that. And when you do the walking directions on the Disney app, it was like, oh, your cabin is a mile away. And we're like, after that meal, let's stretch our legs and walk that mile. It's dark out, we'll look at the Halloween lights and decorations and just enjoy ourselves. Somehow we got turned around and that walk ended up being a lot longer, not very enjoyable, and like I said, just kind of capped off a pretty cruddy first day. So, believe me, that our trip went far beyond that with awesomeness, but that was just not a good way to start it. And after that, we learned how to use the buses and to get around the resort. So anyway, like I said, let me get away from that the resort is beautiful. Trees everywhere, indigenous, like Florida, tropical bushes and trees, and every time I saw this one plant, I always, remembered that skunk ape photo that, is online everywhere if you're into cryptozoology. Here, I'll show you the picture. See, that type of plant that the skunk ape is lunging behind is everywhere down there. So every time I saw that, and especially when we were walking at night, I was expecting skunk ape to jump out any minute. Anyway, wildlife everywhere. We saw wild turkeys. There are geckos or gnolls or whatever they are everywhere. We saw thousands of them, and every time we saw them, the kids loved it. They never grew bored of seeing these lizards scurry around, jumping, climbing. I mean, it was just cool to see their excitement every time they saw one. And I think it would be pretty cool. I mean, living in PA, living somewhere where lizards are just everywhere, it seems pretty neat to me. So anyway, saw all that herons everywhere because there's a lot of waterways and ponds and stuff within the resort. So herons and storks or whatever, just everywhere. Really cool. And like I said, there's deer everywhere, rabbits, just, yeah, you're immersed in the wildlife of the wilderness, of Fort Wilderness, and it's a great place to be for that. So this is getting kind of long. I really didn't want these episodes to be long, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. And my review of Fort Wilderness was pretty good. I mean, we try to stay at a different resort every time, but if the time ever comes up where we need to repeat, I'll definitely think about Fort Wilderness because the size of the cabin was perfect. We had room for everything and then some as our collection grew, as our trip went on. So, a space for everything. Everything had its space. The kitchen was great. We utilized that and enjoyed it. And yeah, it was just a great place to hang out and enjoy the downtimes of your trip. So, I enjoyed it, and yeah, it was very cool. Anyway, I forgot one thing, and that is, yeah, I wanted to be authentic while doing this episode, so give me a second. Now I'm authentic. Perfect for the Wilderness Lodge. Got my Davy Crockett hat on, and I've always wanted one of these as a kid, and they had them there, and I couldn't help myself. And the best part is, it's not a real raccoon, it's just a stuffed animal in my head, and yeah, that's great. Preserving wilderness, looking like a dork, and loving every minute of it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the other episodes that YouTube is recommending, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky.